Hello, people of the internet. We are at Dorstone today, and we are going to be doing a nice circuitous walk that is going to take in a Motte and Bailey Castle, a church, a big hill, and then a thing called Arthur's Stone, which is a Neolithic burial chamber.
Sounds good. Sounds like a good itinerary.
Yes.
We're going to be walking approximately 5.68 miles, and it's going to be a nice round trip with some interesting things.
We do like a nice round trip. We're in a really pretty village called Dorstone, and we're going to go and visit its castle, which isn't really much of a castle anymore.
What state will it be in? Come with us to find out.
Oh yes.
Let's go, let's go.
It's not very far to our first destination. We wander out into this field, and there behind me, that is the castle. I know it doesn't really look like very much, but that's what's left of it. When you think about the fact that it was all built by hand, they moved a lot of soil to dig this thing up. It's got a moat, which admittedly doesn't have any water in it anymore. I like this sort of thing. It's home to a spot of wildlife, some good oak trees up there. There are too few oak trees in this country, I think.
Castle is a loose term. It's what they call a Motte and Bailey Castle, which is basically a mound of earth at the moment, but it's once a fortification built as a defence position. There are a lot of them all the way up and down the border between England and Wales, because there was an awful lot of conflict between the two countries. Because they were thrown up in a hurry, they were made of earth and wood generally. Sometimes stone was added onto them to make them more permanent. As you can see, it's got a good view of the surrounding area, so it's ideal to see incoming enemy attacks, and it's got a moat that goes all the way around it, which you can still see. It's quite deep. So this is how deep it is here. It gets deeper further along. It would have been much deeper when it was first created, obviously, but it's still pretty steep. I mean, you can see the bank behind me there. You've got some cool trees up here too. Those roots are quite something. Very strong looking. You can see why this was the ideal place to build this. You've got really good 360 views all the way around this motte, and the hills slope down and then up, so anybody coming down out of the tree cover has to go down out into the open, and they're going to be spotted pretty easily from here. I should imagine quite a good line of fire there as well, so if you did see anybody, you could pelt them with anything that you had. Yeah, they picked a good spot here for defence. It's pretty as well.
All that remains of Dorstone Castle are the earthworks of the Motte and Bailey and some stone foundations of the tower. It probably originated in the 12th century and was later fortified in 1403 and subsequently destroyed a few years later by the Welsh. So that's it, we've seen the Motte and Bailey, the castle. And now we're going to head back the way we came, because that's the sort of people we are.
We came, we saw, we left.
Yeah.
After getting a few shots,
yes.
Which is our version of conquering, I guess.
Gave us the opportunity to have a look around and know where we're going. Not that we didn't know where we were going anyway, but we do now.
I have no sense of direction, I never know where I'm going.
That's true. So now we're going to go and have a look at a church. We'll tell you all about the church when we get to it. But for now, Joey's going to climb a stile. Isn't she ladylike?
Oh, it's a good doggy. That's right, you're a good doggy. Silly human that I am. Is I am.
This funny squat looking building behind me is St Faith's Parish Church, which was reputedly built by Richard de Brito. Ah, you gotta love my pronunciations. He was one of the knights who murdered Thomas Becket in 1170, and he built the church as penance for the murder, supposedly. Thomas Becket, also known as Thomas a Becket, was made a saint by Pope Alexander III. Okay, well, what have we seen so far?
We've seen them up, we've seen the church, and now we're going to...
Merbach Hill, which is a hill.
Yeah,
You know, because
Merbach.
currently we're in the Golden Valley, which sounds really quite appealing, doesn't it? So we're going to go and climb a hill so that we can look down and see what there is to be seen.
Yeah. Off we go to up the hill, catching up with Ian, who's in front of me. Hello, Ian. He waved, but we're still going up the hill. Yeah.
This is the nice easy bit of the hill. Apparently it gets a bit steeper. I have heard it described as a trudge.
Not a trudge.
A trudge? When I say I've heard, I've read it, which is different, isn't it, really?
It's like hearing through your eyes.
It is. But either way, that's what we're doing. We're climbing a hill that may or may not be a trudge. We'll let you know when we get to the top whether we thought it was trudgy. Ooh.
Just had to stop to tighten the old boots and take the coats off because it's a bit warm. We're about to do the next incline. We can see what they mean by trudge. You set a pace and you stick to it, really, don't you?
Yeah. They were
Yeah.
accurate. Whoever the people on the internet were, what said it,
They were right.
They knew what they were talking about. That way.
That's a turnout for the books. This way.
Turn up for the books, dear, not turn out.
Did I say turnout?
Yeah.
Whoops. We've been going through quite a lot of fields for quite some time now, each of them on a range of gradients from to but still we're making progress. Progress is being made. I can see some hills. I suspect they're not the hills that we're going to. Where are the hills that we're going to? Point. So over there-ish. They look like little specky mumps in the distance, but the views are going to be pretty stunning from the top, I can tell, because the views from here are pretty stunning and we're not at the top remotely. Headed up to Merbach Hill, or as we've just heard it called, Merbach.
Merbich.
Don't know. Either way, we're calling it Merbach because it sounds better for us. And it's quite boggy up here. Squelch, squelch, squelch.
It has been raining. Merbach Hill!
Hey!
You gotta love a good windswept tree, and that's a good windswept tree. And over here, another good windswept tree. Not as windswept as the other one. This one looks a bit more intact, but it's a good looking tree. And here we are, nearly at the top of Merbach Hill, however you're supposed to say it. Apparently the right pronunciation is the Welsh pronunciation, which is something like Merbach, but people locally call it Merbage. I don't know why this would be. Behind me, there's a fantastic view. Here is a very rustic looking gate at which I have arrived, and I will now walk through said rustic looking gate. Gotta love a good rustic looking gate, that's what I say. There's Joey behind me, looking, at the view.
Merbach Hill.
Hello, we have reached the top of this, nearly at the end of our journey, but not yet. Oh no.
We've
No.
still got Arthur's Stone to go to.
We have.
This is the trigonometry point at Merbach Hill, and it stands in front of a stunning view of the River Wye that goes through lots of places like Hay-on-Wye and Monmouth and things like that.
This is the 10,883rd highest peak in the British Isles.
It's got a runner-up award for trying.
It's the 1,569th tallest in England, and it has an elevation of 310 metres. That's 1,043 feet if you're American. This is how we know how high everything is, because of things like this.
Yeah, trigonometry.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Look it up.
We can't be bothered to explain it. We're giving you homework.
Yes, yeah. Homework's always good. We'd like an essay.
Yes, send it to anyone else but us.co.uk.
We're off to see Arthur's Stone, which is a really cool sounding thing. It's a Neolithic tomb, because who doesn't need a good Neolithic tomb in their lives? That's what I want to know.
And I want to know why Arthur needs a stone, so I guess we'll find that out when we get there.
He needs loads of stuff. He's got a stone, he's got a seat,
he's got several seats.
There's one just below Penavan.
Well, there you go. Arthur is the man who needs a lot of seats.
He does. He clearly likes to sit down, but he also likes a good stone as well.
Yes.
So,
first things first, we're going to eat a Snickers. So, Snickers.
Yay!
Power up. And
anyway.
Off. Merbach Hill. Come on. Arthur's Stone!
This is the end of our walk. So, we are going to show you some fabulous footage of this thing, which is a Neolithic tomb, which for some reason is called Arthur's Stone, even though chances are it had absolutely nothing to do with Arthur, and Arthur may or may not have existed.
It might have been an Arthur rather than the Arthur.
It could be. It could be a bloke called Arthur who found it and went, look, there's a stone here. And obviously this has been excavated, because originally it would have been covered in earth, so that it would look, more like a barrow. Somebody would have been buried in there, which was all very... And now they're not, because, time has passed.
And the body has evaporated. That's what happens.
That's what happens,
Science.
Yes. Science. Let's go with that.
One of the things I love about England and Wales is the variety of history you have just sitting on the surface. This behind me is prehistoric, and although it's called Arthur's Stone, it was only linked to Arthurian legend from the 13th century. It's thought that Jack slew a giant and the giant fell, and apparently there's an elbow impression from the giant on one of the stones. You know how these things go. Tourism. Even so, it's quite something that this stone structure has been staying upright with that heavy capstone on it for all these years. Just goes to show, things back then were built to last.
We are going to end our walk here, even though we have to walk back to the car, but we're not going to take you for that because you don't care about us walking back to the car. Why would you? Anyway, so...
subscribe and click the little bell
to give it some ears.
So you can get notified about when we do our films, because otherwise you may or may not get notifications, and that makes us sad.